Hi everyone, this is Sandra Hayashi with Fathom Realty. I hope you're doing well today. I am starting a new program today. It is called your Weekly Wednesday Lunch and Learn. And so we're going to weekly talk about different real estate topics. And I hope that you will join me. And if you find something that you think is interesting to maybe some of your friends, then you can share this out and let them know. And hi, Rhonda, how glad to have you join me. Today, we are going to talk about finding a lender. And that's a very important topic. And so we're going to get into that. And you guys are going to have to forgive me because I am going to look at my notes every once in a while to make sure that I don't forget anything. When we get into real estate, as realtors, we can't do anything for you unless we know that you can qualify for a loan. So, because you can't buy the house without getting a mortgage unless you're really lucky and you've come across some money somewhere, or you've done a really good job of saving and you've got thousands of dollars and you can pay cash. Then we love you and we'll be happy to work with you. But for most of our clients, you need to get a mortgage, and so you need to find a loan officer that will help you get that mortgage. So we're going to talk about the many different ways that you can find that loan officer. And some of the ways are, you may have a friend that just bought a home and they worked with somebody that they really liked, and they'll give you that referral, and then you can go and talk to them. And so that's always a good way to do it. The best way that I like to do that. Hey Elizabeth, how are you? And Rita, nice to see you. Thanks for joining me. We're talking about finding a lender. Rita is a lender, so thanks for joining me. And realtors are probably one of your best sources for finding a loan officer, because we work with them all the time. We know what their capabilities are. We don't know all of their loan programs. That's why we refer them to you. We know the housing market. The lenders know the loan programs, but we can usually match personalities and the basics of their loan programs with the lenders. So it's good to have your realtor refer you to a lender. Let me see what I'm missing here. The different lenders have different programs. Some of them can work really well with first-time home buyers. They'll have programs that specifically tailor to first-time home buyers, such as VHDA, which is a state program, and then there's that can afford clients with 100% financing if you qualify. There are restrictions such as income and credit score restrictions that go with that. Then there's FHA, which is the government-backed loan, and that one also is a great first-time home buyer program, but anybody that qualifies can get an FHA loan. And all those programs, there are grant money available to people that qualify for that. So sometimes you can get into a home with grant funds, and some of those funds need to be paid back, and some of them are forgiven after a time period. So to talk to the lender and find out if you can qualify for grant funds. And so each lender has many different loan programs, and it's always good to talk to the loan officer and have them compare loan programs for you, because there's not always interest rate is the way that you want to say, oh, well, I can go to this lender because they've got a better interest rate than, you know, the other lender that you told me to go to, because sometimes there are other factors besides just the interest rate. There are things such as processing fees and origination fees and other junk fees, depending on the lender that you're talking to. And so those all add up, and they depending on how they're placed into your loan, they could get added onto the total of your loan value. And so there's Betty Sue Angle and Debbie Harris. Thanks for joining me. So we're talking about finding a lender. And so any of those extra fees that if they get added onto your loan, then having a lower interest rate really doesn't help you much because you've increased your loan value. So having a lower interest rate may not be the answer. So you have to compare the different loan types and exactly what we're saving. And so the lender can explain all of that to you. And even your realtor can help you to figure out between the two of those, because it can get kind of complicated when you're looking at that. But a good lender will be able to explain it to you. That's why when you go and you fill out one of those online forms and say, find me a lender here, and then you get bombarded with 5, 6, 10 of those online companies sending you information on loans, and then you're just overwhelmed and you don't know what you got going on then, because these people are sending you all kinds of stuff. And then you got to be careful you don't give them too much information, because then they're going to start pulling your credit, and then you're just there's a point where one or two lenders pulling your credit's not gonna do anything. You get people out there, you start filling out loan applications all over the place and giving people your social security number, and you have a lot of loan officers pulling your credit. You're gonna in the end damage your credit score. So you got to be really careful how you do that. So credit score is a key. So you got to be careful making sure you're making your payments, you're not having lates and all of that. So you just can't be going willy-nilly giving people your information out there on the internet for them to pull your credit. So it's always good to have a trusted source that's referring a lender to you, and then you can feel more comfortable. And then that's the other thing, you've got to feel comfortable with the loan officer you're working to, because if you don't feel comfortable with them, then the communication portion of it is going to get lost, and you're with them through the whole transaction, which can be anywhere from 30 to 60, sometimes unfortunately 90 days, depending on how long it takes to find the house, and if there's some document issues or whatever. So you've got to find somebody to work with that you like, or otherwise you're not going to have too much fun doing that program. So I just want to let everybody know we're into this a little ways. I'm Sandra Hayashi, realtor with Fathom Realty, and I've started a new program here, a Wednesday Lunch and Learn, and I just want to try and get some information out to my friends, my clients, and we're going to talk real estate each week. And today and this month we're going to be talking about lenders and what they can do for you and how key they are in your home buying process. As realtors, we can't do much for you until you've got your lender out there working for you and qualifying you. And I'm happy to see that I've got some of the good lenders online here with me. Bill Hughes, how are you today? Diana Hayes, how are you? So let's see, we're going to talk about what do we got next? Interest rate, we talked about there. So grant funds, where we talked a little bit about that. And so first-time home buyers, there's grant funds out there for you. I even have one, oops, what happened? Oh, there we go. I have one lender that I work with that has grant funds available, and you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. So there's situations out there for everybody. So sometimes enough money for the down payment. You might make good money and be able to afford your payments, but just circumstances, you've saved a little bit, but you don't have a lot, and you need a little extra. For some reason, we haven't been able to get the seller to help pay closing costs, which is a big deal. We usually try and get sellers to help pay some of your closing costs. That doesn't always help, especially in the hot markets where homes are getting multiple offers and stuff like that. So there are grant funds available and assistance. So we have to look at that. And so we've got options out there for you there. Let's see, we talked about VHDA, and I've got some of these lenders on here are specialized in VHDA. I see a couple of those, so you need to just let me know if you're a first-time home buyer and you're looking. I've got some, or some of my friends out there have got friends that are looking for a house and they're a first-time home buyer. We can do some stuff. The market's good right now. Interest rates are still steady. I don't think they're climbing too much right now. They're in the, I think, the high 4s, 5s. I'm not a lender. I'm not offering any advice. I'm not offering to lend money to anyone. I am just telling you that you need to find a loan officer to get pre-qualified before we go out and start looking at homes. And the best way to do that is to talk to a trusted friend, to a realtor, and to interview that loan officer and know the ins and outs of what you're getting into when you get the loan, because there's a whole loan process. There's a lot of information that you need to provide to the loan officer, and when they ask it, it's for a reason. They don't just say, oh, I want to ask them for 10 documents today just because. There's always a reason, mostly because they're government backed and the government, wants them, or the government requires that there's these filings that these requirements that we have to meet for them to give the loan before we'll back it. So don't be upset with your loan officer when they ask you for 3 years of tax returns or 2 years for tax returns. And as we're coming now into tax season and you're going to get your W-2s, save your W-2s. Make sure you know where you are. Even if it's going to be 2 or 3 years down the road, make sure you know where your W-2s are. That's something that they always ask her. Everybody saves their tax returns, but sometimes they don't always have that W-2 form there with their tax their tax returns. And that's a key item. So that's a document. That's a little sore spot with me right now, one of my clients. So I'm going to put that out there. Just save that form. And other forms they need, 2 months worth of bank statements. So, make sure that you've got bank statements there that are readily available. And we're going to go through next week, actually, probably we'll talk about all the documents and information that you need to provide to the loan officers. But just giving you a heads up right now that they're going to ask you for stuff and you need to be prepared. And if you start gathering some of that stuff up, start looking at your credit. There's you can go and pull your credit report for free. It's annualcreditreport.com. I'll put that in the comments on my page there, so you can look at that. The other place that you can look for a loan officer, that if you don't have a realtor yet or a friend, you can go to vhda.com. That's the state site. You can go to hud.gov. Both of those sites are trusted sites that you can go in and search for a lender and be sure that they are a licensed, reputable lender that you can find there and search the area. And let's see. I hope that you all are going to think about what I've said and share this with anybody that you may know that may be looking for a loan officer at this point, because that's where we start when you're looking at a home. You have to know your ability to buy a home with a loan and how much your loan qualifies for. People call me all the time and say, what's the payment on this house? And it's like, well, I can tell you what the payment on a loan for you know, $100,000 would be at a certain interest rate, but I can't tell you whether or not you would qualify to make that payment, because you need to talk to the loan officer and find out if, you know, you've got the right credit to do that. So I can't answer really truly if that's what you would pay for that house, because it all depends on you and how well you have done on your credit. And so those are all things that you need to talk to with a loan officer. And sometimes if you don't have your credit there where it is right now, the loan officer can help you. They're there to guide you. They will give you advice. They'll look at your credit report. They'll tell you things to do to, you know, things to pay off, things to do. You may need to, if you don't have any credit at all, you may need to go out and get a secured credit card, different things. You know, sometimes you may need a credit counselor. It may be at that point that you need to get a credit counselor. They'll have referrals for that. Don't just go online and pick one of those credit counselors where you have to pay money for them and stuff. Some of those are not reputable either, so you have to be really careful about that. So again, I'm Sandra Hayashi, and I've been rambling here for a little while. This was my first attempt at a Facebook Live webinar training session, and I'm going to give it a shot again next Wednesday, probably around 1 o'clock again, so we'll see how this goes. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I gave you some information to think about, and let me know if there was anybody that sees this and needs some help, wants to me to contact them. Just put a yes in the comments, and I will see you guys again next week. Thanks, and have a great day. Enjoy this beautiful weather.